my channel. In the last episode, we looked at developmental milestones in children 0 to 12 months. In today's episode, we'll be looking at physical developmental milestones in children 0 to 12 with the hashtag red flags. What are red flags? You can see I'm putting on red. Red flags are just danger signs. They are warning signs. Red flags serves as a motivation for parents to take their children for screening in order to find out if they are on the right developmental path. In addition, red flags can also enable us to know if a child is developing at the right stage or at the right time, or the child is meeting up with developmental milestones. Researchers over the years have come out with different red flags concerning the development of children, especially in the early years. In today's episode, we'll be looking at some red flags as identified by the Center for Early Childhood Development. Here they developed a checklist of red flags to watch out for. So in today's episode, we'll be discussing some of these red flags as identified by this center. And these red flags will be discussed in stages. Now, the first stage we'll be looking at 1 to 3 months. According to the red flag, to the checklist, between ages 1 to 3 months, when a child is unable to follow moving objects with the eyes, it's a red flag. Also, at this stage, it is expected that a child should have proper grasp, good firm control. Or if at this age the child is unable to hold something firmly, this is also a source of concern. It can be regarded as a red flag. Also, when a child is unable to push the legs down, when the feet are placed on a firm surface by 4 months, it's also a red flag. Then this next point might sound funny to you, but when a child at 4 months is unable to put objects in the mouth, then it's a red flag. Probably be wondering, putting objects in the mouth a red flag? Yes. The child at this stage is supposed to follow a directional process of taking things up and putting in the mouth. At this stage, we find parents telling the children, don't put this in your mouth, don't put that in your mouth, no, it's not for the mouth. But we find children being able to take things to the mouth. It shows us that they are on the right path of development, that they are on the proper developmental path. Now, let's look at 4 to 7 months. At 4 to 7 months, we talked about it in the last episode, that children engage a lot in gross motor activities. However, it becomes a sign of concern. It becomes a red flag when their muscles are very stiff or tight. When their muscles are stiff or tight, they will not be able to perform these gross motor activities that is expected of them at that particular stage. In addition, when the body of the child is very floppy, looks as if or feels as if there's no bone in it, and that it's also a red flag. When the body looks like it's a rag doll, we all know what a rag doll is, then it's a source of concern. In addition, when the child still exhibits head lag at this age, what we mean by head lag? When the child is sitting and the head is not steady, that the child does not have proper control of the head, that the head still moves from one position to another, then it's a source of concern, it's a red flag. Still talking about being able to put objects in the mouth in a directional way. Even at this 4 to 7 months, and the child is still finding it difficult, it's also a red flag. Now, it's very important that by age 6 months, a child should be sitting down. So if by 6 months a child is not sitting down either with support or his or her own, then it's a red flag. Also, at this period, it is expected that they should be able to reach out for objects around them. They want to grab things, they want to get involved with objects around them. So it's very important that at this stage, parents should move away harmful objects from the children. But if at 6 months a child is unable to reach out for objects, to want to grasp objects, hold objects, then it's a red flag and a source of concern. In addition to this, concerning their legs, we find out that some children, when you put them down, they don't want to put their entire weight on the leg. They will probably stand tiptoeing. It's a red flag, because it's expected that at this level of their lives, when we put them down, they should be able to rest their full weight on their legs. Now let's move to the last stage that we want to look at. That's 8 to 12 months. When a child that is between 8 to 12 months does not crawl, that is a red flag. A red flag. And I'll be talking about the importance of crawling in subsequent editions, when I'll be talking about writing skills, and there we'll get to know the importance of crawling even to the writing skills of children. So not crawling between 8 to 12 months, it's a red flag. Then some of them might be crawling, but we find out that when they are crawling, they are dragging their body on one side of the body. They are not crawling the proper way with the knees down. So when we find out that a child is dragging the body on one side, it's a source of concern, it's a red flag. In addition, at this period, it's expected that they should be able to stand on their own without support. But peradventure, we find that a child cannot stand, even when supported. It's also a red flag. And to further on, it's important that children are able to use gestures like waving, shaking the head, even when we extend our hands in handshake, they should be able to shake. But when a child cannot make use of gestures like shaking the head, like waving, it's also a source of red flag. And finally, when a child cannot sit steadily by 10 months, the child cannot sit, either is supported or not supported, a child cannot sit by 10 months, it's definitely a source of concern, it's a red flag. So at this point, we'll come to the end of today's episode of the program. If you have any question arising from today's episode, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and we'll look at it in the next episode. If you've been on this educational adventure with me, please don't forget to like the channel, to subscribe, and share with friends. By sharing, we probably will be helping someone to nip in the bud a challenge that will result in a problem later on in life. Thank you, and God bless.